Want to say anything that's not on script, so. All right. It's a couple minutes in, so I'm going to go ahead and get started. Welcome all. My name is Dawn Carey. I am the director of the Women in Science project here at Dartmouth College. This is a program that's been going on since the early 90s, and we'll talk a little bit about the history. But the main reason for doing this is just to give you an overview of what the opportunities are here at Dartmouth if you are interested in continuing in sciences. I'd like to talk a little bit about the panel that we have here. Almost everybody's here, so we'll get going with that. If I could have each one of you introduce yourselves and tell a little bit about your connection to WISP. You can go in order. Ileana, if you want to go first.
Yes, I can go first. Hello, everyone. My name is Ileana Beck. I'm a 22 from San Antonio, Texas. I'm a psychology and anthropology double major, and my connection to WISP was my first year. I was a WISP intern with the QSS/sociology department.
Thank you.
Hi, everyone. I'm Ashley. I'm a 22. I'm from Long Island, New York. I'm an engineering major and an earth science minor. I entered WISP as part of the peer mentor program, and I also went through the research part and ended up finding an independent research project through that.
Hello, everyone. My name's Destiny. I'm a 21 from Lancaster, California, which I'm currently located. I am the current Senior Peer Mentor Program Coordinator, along with Jess, and I'm a psychology major.
Hi everyone, I'm Margaret. I'm a 21 from Kansas City, Kansas. My relationship with WISP is I like many people here, did the research program my freshman year and found a research professor who I've continued my research with through senior year. And in addition, I was a peer mentor last year through the peer mentor program. Oh, and I study physics.
Hi, my name is Hannah. I'm a 23. I'm from Tampa, Florida. I am currently undecided, but hopefully doing biomedical engineering. I did a research project in the past. Well, it's been continuing, even though the WISP, kind of stops after 2 terms. But I signed on to do a biomedical project with a faculty member in a Thayer for a biomedical and engineering project. And so, yeah, currently they're focusing on COVID. But yeah.
Hi, I'm Jess. I'm 21. I'm one of the senior peer mentor coordinators with Destiny. I live in Portland, Maine, and I'm a biology major and global health minor. And I've been a WISP mentee, mentor, and a WISP intern.
Hi everyone, I'm Yuri. I'm a 22 and I'm from Chicago, but my family moved to Dallas last year, so that's where I'm remotely located right now. I am planning on majoring in cognitive science with a minor in linguistics and chemistry, and I was matched my first year during the second round of WISP with Professor Peter C's lab in the PBS department, which really sparked my interest in. I had done research in like bio wet labs before, but I never really had an experience with human participants. So it really like sparked my interest for psychology research, and is part of the reason why I'm majoring in cognitive science currently. I am still with his lab, which is really great, and I think that's it.
Hi everyone, I'm Siklali. I'm from LA. I'm currently in LA. I'm a 23 and I was part of the WISP mentee program. I was also matched second round with my professor in the biology department, and I'm actually able to keep on working with her. Well, I was supposed to work with her this year, but because of everything that happened, I'm going to keep on working on the project that the soils carbon project my junior year.
Thank you all. I'm going to do a little bit of housekeeping before we go forward. For those attendees who are not on the screen, we won't be taking questions live, but I do encourage you to use the questions and answers, the Q&A tab. And I suggest that you, before you put in your own question, see if someone else is asking something like that. And we're going to upvote, and we'll take the questions that have the most interest. So if you want to do that throughout, and at the end, we'll be returning to the large panel for discussion and clarification on questions as we go through. But go ahead and put the questions in as soon as you think of them. And they might be addressed as you go along, but might not be, and we'll see. Okay, so first I'm just going to give a quick overview about our mission, creating collaborative learning environments for those identifying as women, or you can thrive. That's basically it. The idea being that science wasn't always engaging women at the same level that it was men, and we have used a number of tools throughout the history of WISP to make a change in that work. When you look at all jobs in the world, it's about 50-50 in general. In STEM jobs, it's about 76% of them are held by men. So the idea being that if all things were equal in this world, that would look a little different than this. And so that's our work here. That's our aim, is to create a learning environment for you where it becomes the norm for you to continue and thrive in STEM. I'm giving a brief overview of the history of WISP. Started in 1990 by a professor and administrator here at the college. They're pretty heinous underrepresentation of women in majors, science majors at Dartmouth, and they sought to make a change in that. As a slight aside, actually Karen Wetterhahn was inadvertently exposed to a form of mercury and subsequently passed away. And interestingly, that experience formed quite a bit of the protocol about how to protect oneself in the laboratory. So it's fascinating to me that even after her death, she's causing great work to go on and change for the rest of us. Since it began, over 2,000 women have been involved in a WISP research internship. And we'll talk a little bit about those in a bit. Even more powerfully, over 5,000 women have been involved in the program itself, with Peer Mentor Program, which we'll also discuss. I'm sure you're all sick of seeing my emails about that. When the program started, there were only 45 women who graduated with a science major. And the last count in 2016, it was up to 246. And we were just doing a quick skim of the data, and it's almost to 300 now. So in science majors, over 50% of the total majors at Dartmouth graduating were women. Interestingly, Dartmouth was also the first national research university to graduate more female engineers than male engineers. So Dartmouth has a history of supporting this work and creating an environment where that, again, that is the norm. I want to talk a little bit, give an overview of the components in general of WISP. With our present environment, some of those things will look a little differently than they have in past years, and we'll drill down to that. But I just want to give you a general overview to begin with. The first is the Peer Mentor Program that we talked about before. And the idea being that first years who are interested in are matched with a sophomore, junior, senior mentor for their first year. In addition, they will also be part of something called a mentor family. So in addition to your specific mentor, you might have a mentor aunt, as we like to say. So someone else who you could reach out to throughout your first year. With the D plan being what it is, before the remote environment, it wasn't always easy to have a consistent mentor, throughout the first year. So this helps with that a little bit. Our two senior program coordinators are Destiny and Jessica, who just introduced themselves, and we are in the process of selecting 2 more juniors as well. And that team will help pull the program together and do the matching. The other element, which probably gets the most PR, I guess, is the research internship element. And the idea being that this is faculty-led research. The idea being there would be a part-time research internship, usually over the winter and spring. Last spring, most of them stopped. Some of them were able to continue in the remote world, and we can talk a little bit about that. First year women apply for these internships in any of the STEM programs, and then there are some sophomore programs where they can apply for internships in chemistry, computer science, engineering, math, and physics, astronomy. There are some of the sciences that in a wonderful way are now equally or overrepresented by women, notably both biology and neuropsychology have more women in the program than men. And then there's programming as well. And these are opportunities to see what the world of science looks like through the lens of being female, basically. Thinking about meeting different scientists who are in this world, learning about different career options. And through that, we'll connect you to faculty, GWISE, which is the Graduate Women in Science program here at Dartmouth, and Women of Dartmouth, the Alumni Association. So now we're going to talk a little bit about what that looks like at the COVID version. Some of this is really just you jumping on board. And so first element we talked about already is joining the Peer Mentor program. It's on the WISP website. I think there's also a link to it in the Vox Daily piece that we gave out. The deadline for those who want a mentor is this Friday. So if you're interested in that, definitely find that. Reach out to me if you are not finding that link. And in addition, every year we've had a dinner where the mentors and mentees get to meet each other for the first time. So this is post-match, you getting to meet both who your mentor is and who the other people in your mentor family are. And we'll have a virtual version of that in early October. We will not, sadly, be providing food. I'm sorry. It's always pizza, so you can just order. You've also already done a little bit of what we're calling the build up. Now, so the Peer Mentor program sign up we just talked about, different info sessions, folks who are part of the FICEP program or maybe the Thayer Couch Lab Q&A sessions. I already saw a little bit about WISP info. Obviously, this is part of it. And this year, we auto-subscribed you to the listserv. So anyone who put down that they had any interest in any of the science fields was automatically subscribed to our listserv/WISP Digest mailing list. You can at any point jump off of that. That's okay. We don't get our feelings hurt at all. And more importantly, if you hear people who are interested in it, who for some reason haven't received any of this information, have them tell them how to sign up to for that, and we'll have information at the end of this on how to do that for those who aren't auto signed up. So fall term. The theme of fall term is building networks, and the idea being, what does research look like as, what does science look like as, and thinking about the different elements that we have here at the college to help us with that. So there'll be programming both with the Peer Mentor program, smallly, and also the larger WISP events in general. And this is what these look like. So they're really in general 3 different tracks. There's the general WISP programming, the Peer Mentor program, and what we call the research track. You can be in all, 1, none, 2. You can switch in and out of them in general. So don't feel like if you don't get into research right away, you'll never be in research again. All of these opportunities are things that you can avail yourself throughout your 4 years at Dartmouth. The difference is that once you move from first year to being an upperclassman, the funding structure ends up being a little different. We have something called Undergraduate Advising and Research, who funds all students at Dartmouth, anything that's involved in faculty-led research. So it ends up not being funded by WISP anymore, but you can still continue it going through. In the general, we'll have, as we said, the What is WISP webinar, which you're already part of. We'll have some sessions on academic resources. We're going to have people from GWISE come and give an information session on what it looks like these first couple of years and some tips and tricks on how to get through that first year, or more importantly, that first midterm. Also engaging with faculty. One of the things that's come up quite a bit is when you go from high school to college, figuring out how to bridge that barrier between you and your faculty member. So we'll have some speakers on that as well. In the peer mentor program, we're going to be matching earlier than we usually do. We'll have that kickoff dinner. There'll be mentor group activities, so smaller activities. And then we're also thinking maybe having a trivia team event and have mentor groups duke it out with each other. There'll be no elements in the research track. There never are in the fall at all. And then for both General WISP and Peer Mentor, the Alumni in Science will have some mentors talking about their first steps. And then at the end, we'll have some onboarding about winter term involvement. In the winter term, the theme is building blocks. So what does that look like? Well, normally in the winter, you would start with whatever your, if you were doing research, you would start with your program right then. In general, that first term was really devoted to you getting used to what it is being in the lab, you learning different skills, you know, how to run R, how to, you know, clean the glassware, how to feed the mice, all those other elements. It's really about a skills building anyway. Since the bulk of first years won't be on campus this term, we've really shifted everything over to the spring for any potential first time hands-on activities. And we're going to intentionally put together programming for everyone to be involved in some of these training programs. So different skill building elements throughout the winter term. And, you know, these run the gamut, everything from, we'll talk a little about the different things. And then the third thing is the access to potential spring research matching. So General WISP will do a session on lab tours for the Peer Mentor program, programming support in general, mentor group activities, course selection help as you're going through. That's really a really popular element in Peer Mentor. And through the research track, that starts to get a little more energy behind it. Some of the training that I was talking about in the last slide, different analytical tools, Committee for Protection of Human Subjects. That's a training that you go through. We'll do a remote lab meeting visit. So you get to sit in on a lab meeting and see what that looks like, just like you would if you were part of a research program. And then also possible matching for spring. So if you're asking yourself, I don't even know if I want to do research, do I have to do this? You absolutely don't. The idea being that if you are someone who's interested in this, this gives you a taste of it on some level. Normally in the winter, if you were part of this, you would be getting an hourly wage for any hours that you're working in your lab. What we're going to do instead this year is based on the amount of your involvement, at the end of the term, you'll receive a stipend. So you still get paid for your time doing these research track pieces. There's no onus on you to continue in research after that. So this could just be a separate thing you do anyhow. They'll be at different times throughout the term. So if you always have a class at 10 a.m., we'll make sure they aren't always at 10 a.m. They'll be at different times throughout the term. And then again, having the Alumni in Science and them really talking about, since last term they talked about mentors and that first engagement. Second is really about their learning path. What are some of the ways that they achieved in science going forward? And spring term, you know, knock on wood, everybody will be back. The idea of this is building towards the future in this case. Again, potential research, this would be faculty-led research for the stipend as well. In addition, we hope to have our annual Wetterhahn Science Symposium. In past years, first years have presented posters at that after 2 terms of working with data. And depending on what sort of engagement we have in the spring, that may or may not be a specific opportunity. There are other people who present posters, so we would want you to be there, whether it's remote or in person in general. What are some other elements that would be available in the spring? Well, as I said, General WISP, Wetterhahn Symposium, peer mentor program, same as we had before, programming, support programming, mentor group activities, course selection help. And in research, faculty mentored research, if it's a possibility. If there, as I'm sure you've heard through the grapevine, there are limitations on how many people can be in the lab. So right now, the focus is really on those who are finishing up their senior theses or doing lab-specific work that they had been trained in already. So the idea being that WISP students go in after everybody else is all set with that. If you aren't able to match with faculty mentored research, either programmatically or specifically as an individual, we're also going to have something called cohort-based research. And the idea being it's almost like a round table of students who are given a project together and can present a poster on that. It's a little different than faculty-led, but something that you can definitely add not only to your experience, but also to your CV. So that's something to think about. And again, the alumni in science, the more presentations on that, and those specifically careers and what that looks like. And these are all women who went to Dartmouth, some of whom majored in sciences and did something completely different. So, okay, so how to stay involved. Information goes out through the WISP Digest if you're on that mailing list. I also put things through Vox Daily and just general emails and, through the listserv as well. Who is WISP? So as I said, I'm part of undergraduate advising and research. WISP is one element of that program. They also have things like the presidential scholars, the sophomore and junior research scholars. There are many, many programs, all of which are, the goal is funding research for students in conjunction with faculty here at Dartmouth. So that's the one umbrella of WISP. Students. So in addition to the peer mentors, we have the peer mentor coordinators who you've met already, Destiny and Jessica, and two juniors to be named. Also faculty. There are some faculty who are just superstars as far as supporting WISP. Year after year, they host anywhere between 2 and 4 WISP students in their labs, many of whom continue on for all 4 years. So some of whom are in this panel here. You might switch, you might decide, you might come in being a biology pre-med person, decide, nope, I absolutely want instead to be a chem major. You know, that happens all the time. You came to a liberal arts school, that's I not only understood, expected on some level. So that's not weird at all. And the faculty are really helpful in steering you towards their colleagues. And also alumni, I've mentioned them a couple of times. So in addition to the GWIS students who are all part of the Guarini School, we also have teaching science fellows who you may have met already. Those there are 3 of them, 2 of whom are women, and they'll be speakers as well as we go through and serve as a support your entire first year. If you are not, for some reason, on the listserv /WISP Digest, go to listserv, take a screenshot quickly of this and log in, and that way we can get you on. That way I make sure that when we do have announcements, you're on the list and you hear about them, because not everything goes on Vox. All right, now we can breathe. So I'm doing a little faster than I usually do because I really want to make sure there's enough time for us to answer some of your questions. For those of you who filled out the, well, you had to get this link, but for those of you who asked questions on the registration form, it was great. There were probably about 30 or 40 different questions on here. And what I'm going to do is pull out a couple of them, some of which are, mostly named by me, or best answered by me, but some of which will be best answered by the student panels here. So let's start with the student panel one. First one is if a student is not matched within the WISP program, is it still possible to participate in research? Who would like to take that question?
I can take that because I have experience with that situation. So I went through the WISP research program, and I met with professors, did some interviews and all of that. And I didn't get matched the first round. And then the second round I decided to opt out of. So I didn't go through the traditional WISP research program. But from that was my first real experience interacting with faculty one-on-one. So it gave me more confidence in those conversations. It wasn't as scary as I thought it would be. I didn't need to know everything about the certain topic I was going in for ahead of time. So my freshman winter, I just went on the Dartmouth website in different departments that I thought were interesting, looked up different faculty, and saw what their research was about. And a lot of times faculty will have a link to like a separate website that's dedicated to their lab or to their research. And sometimes that'll have whether they have positions available or not. But even if they don't have that sort of information, I just started emailing faculty saying, this is who I am. I'm interested in this area. Is there any chance you have a position in your lab or a way I could get involved? And through that, I met with a couple different faculty members or PhD students in labs. And I found a lab that way and was able to do research my freshman, winter, spring, and then into my sophomore year the same way a lot of students did through the WISP traditional route. So there definitely is a lot of opportunity for research, and don't be afraid to just email different faculty, reach out. They will all be super helpful. Even if they don't have a position, they're not gonna be mean or anything like that. So don't be afraid.
That's great. They are not mean. That is true. As we're going through, panelists, please jump in if you want to ever add on to what someone else has said as we go forward. Another question is it okay to seek out research through WISP even with little/no previous research background?
I can, go for it.
Wait, are you sure? Okay, yeah, sorry. So I came from a public high school and I didn't have any previous research experience. The only science, I guess, thing related I did was take AP classes, but apart from that, not even those classes really had the labs to do with them. So when I was doing interviews, that was something I was scared of. That was gonna put me at a disadvantage. But I met with the professor that's currently hosting my project, and she said that it wasn't any problem. And within the first 3 weeks, she had me trained of like all the protocols, and I'm like trained to dealing with biohazard stuff. So if you don't have any previous experience with research, I don't think it's something you should worry about because like Ashley mentioned, faculty are very nice, and that's not something that's going to put you at a disadvantage over peers that have been participating in research for a long time.
I would also add that I think professors often see that as almost a strength that you don't have experience, and I think that's why they love to hire students through the WISP program, because there's sort of these unmolded, like, new minds that like don't have any like bad habits, and they can kind of train them the way that they want, and people really enjoy that. And I think they're really just looking for students that are like interested in their research and curious, and I think any more than that, they really don't pay much mind to, because they're looking for someone that they can kind of take on as their mentee and like train them over maybe the next few years if you are interested in continue. So I think it's always a strength. It's in no way weakness.
Margaret, did you want to jump in? Whoops, I think you might be. Can you all hear Margaret? I wonder why. We don't hear you. Rats. Oh no, go ahead and type it. We could hear her before, so that's funny. Well, we'll get it sorted. Oh, you got it? Keep going? Okay, great.
Can you hear
All
me
right,
now?
yes,
Yes.
yes.
Okay, well, I can't hear you all, so that's fine. We'll figure it out eventually. I was just gonna add on to what all the other panelists were saying, and basically, like in my research group, I had taken like physics and I was researching with a physics professor. I had taken physics in high school. I had done a lot of extra reading, so I like knew a lot about the subjects that we were talking about. One girl had taken a lot of science in high school but knew nothing about physics, and then the last girl knew nothing about physics and had never taken a science course in high school. And our professor was able to work with the three of us and never made any of us feel like we were being pushed too hard or not pushed enough, and like did a great job at accommodating the three of our different levels. So whether or not you've done research forever, whether or not you've done research never or haven't even taken science classes, your professor will work with you to help make sure that you are able to be helpful and learn something. So
Thanks, Margaret. If you can hear me, say thanks. Sorry. So I'm going to jump into a couple of programmatic specific questions that have come up. First one is, will funding be available for people who are taking classes remotely? And this is also people who might continue to be international throughout this. Obviously, they are remotely as well. And I just want to talk about the concept in general for this year and hope that it might clarify some of the other questions as well. So the idea being that if there are opportunities to be in the lab in the spring, we will have the bulk of the research like that. There will probably also be virtual opportunities as well. That's separate. We don't even know what's going to happen in spring. We're hoping that's going to be the case. We're building our program on the unknown at this point. The winter, which is when you're really starting your research, is all remote. It's through stipend, and it's only through the involvement in the seminars, sessions, workshops that we're doing through WISP. So one person said, will there still be opportunities for funding in remote winter? For those preparatory skill building elements, there will be. Something that's different about WISP versus UGAR. The UGAR funding, you go and find a professor who you're really interested in their work, and you put together a project, and you come back to UGAR and say, hi, I want to do this. Can I get some money for it, sort of thing? WISP is a little different. The projects themselves are developed ahead of time, and you would be applying specifically to those projects with those professors. So it's a little bit different. Another process question is that if we start the wet lab version of the research in the spring, would you be able to continue it in the summer and or fall? And that's still up in the air. We don't know yet. Again, you always have the opportunity to look for funding outside of WISP through UGAR, and it's a pretty we can have students talk about that. That's a pretty easy way to get funding. So that, I don't know if that answers a couple of the questions that we have here. One other question is the intern match an available resource for sophomores if WISP is not running this year? The shorter answer is yes. Again, it all depends on what's going to go on in the spring. So we'll go from there. Here's another question. What opportunities are unique to WISP? Any students want to talk about something that they find was a uniquely WISP aspect of their either first year or subsequent years?
Well, the peer mentor program is very unique to WISP because you get a mentor that is connected to you throughout your whole first year. and we match them specifically to your interest. And also, say you want to be pre-med afterwards, or you want to go on to graduate school, we try to find someone who also is interested in those things, so we can connect you and also put you in a family of people who are also interested in those same majors, extracurricular activities, different things like that. And I also have to go, so thank you, everyone. Bye.
I can kind of continue talking about the peer mentor program. Um, I think that it's something that's super underappreciated and is probably the most valuable thing that WISP offers, because I think, you know, I totally understand everyone's like excitement to get involved with research, but I think the average student at Dartmouth definitely doesn't get involved with research during freshman year, and it's very normal to take that on later. Um, but the peer mentor program is something that's special for freshman year and is, I think, really important. And I think that some of the other panelists would probably agree that over like my years at Dartmouth, I've definitely learned that probably the people you learn the most from are like your peers and sort of the people you meet along the way, who you kind of see other people's experiences. And for me, it's definitely driven me to change my major around and, you know, pursue certain internships and things like that. And that's totally based on the people I've met, many of them through WISP. So I think if there's anything I would suggest, is definitely sign up for the peer mentor program, and you'll meet like some great upperclassmen, you'll meet, you know, some mentee siblings. Um, and there's no better way to kind of like learn more about what you want to do than by talking to other people that have interest in the same general arena. So I think that's super uniquely WISP and something special for freshman year.
In addition to the peer mentor program, I think that like with my experience with WISP, it's been really great with PIs on the other end, because they already know what the program is, and it sometimes can be really intimidating to just cold email a bunch of like professors asking if you can do research with them. And WISP is kind of like the perfect middleman to connect you with these professors, because they like know the program, and they definitely like want to get more young female women involved in their research, because they also know that like they just want more participation, and like they want to like help you learn about, you know, what they're doing, what their research is about, and get you more involved. So I had like a really great experience with WISP really like being the perfect middleman, helping me, connecting me with different departments and PIs.
Thank you. There's a great question that Hannah answered about list of professors hosting WISP students. So the WISP projects won't go up until they're actually, you know, some of them have the same project year after year. Sometimes they have new projects. So the actual list doesn't go up until the projects are available for matching, which at the earliest would be at the end of winter term. So I think you can still access the faculty that normally are on there. There's also this absolutely understandable eagerness to get attached to research fall term. And I absolutely, completely understand why you want to do that. I might suggest you take this first term, just getting your, yeah, I don't know, getting everything sorted is the best way of doing it, especially after midterms, you know, using that midterm time to kind of assess the amount of time you need to really focus on your coursework, because that's going to be much more important to you. I know I'm not telling you anything you don't know already, but just thinking about that a little bit before you go forward. The other thing is that the college has made it very, very clear, they feel, to students and faculty that no research can happen with students who aren't actually on campus taking courses. So I'm saying that now because sometimes faculty have read the rules and sometimes they haven't. And you do not want to be on the wrong side of that. So if someone says, oh, sure, come on in and volunteer, that's also something that's unethical. There's no volunteering now at this point. There's no having you in there. And I just don't want you all to be in an awkward situation where unknowingly a faculty member has said, sure, come on in. There may be remote opportunities they'd be interested in, which, if you would like to look at those outside, that'd be fine. But again, I really do suggest you take this time to really focus on connecting with your peers, connecting with WISP in general, and taking stock of what it's like to do courses at Dartmouth, because it's very different. Let's see, we already talked about being super knowledgeable, not necessary. Let's see. Oh, there's also a question about what if it's getting involved in research and science, even if it's not your major. So the great thing about a liberal arts degree is that your major might be anthropology with a minor in biology or something like that. So there are so many different combinations like that, that's not going to stand in the way of you getting a research position. I think showing interest in the subject, curiosity, being flexible, adaptable, all of those elements are much more important, I think, to the professor than whether or not your major is in their department, especially as a first year, because this is the time for you to explore. One of the other questions was how to decide whether or not to take classes that sound really interesting but might be outside of my skill range. That right there is the reason to join the peer mentor group. So that's what they're there for. So in that group, everyone has taken every course you'd be interested in, or someone has taken it. And so just, by connection, you'll be able to connect with someone who has gone through that. And it might be which course you take before that other course, all these things that don't show up in the ORC or that a professor might not know the subtleties of, and a near peer will know quite a bit more. Trying to think. So what's the people who are not peer mentor coordinators, what was your favorite peer mentor element that you experienced? What had the highest utility for you? Everybody's thinking, And did it involve puppies? That's a sorry.
Probably the dinner that you guys hosted back, I believe, in like the fall or winter when we got matched to meet like our mentors. It was a really good opportunity to just listen from a panelist of WISP interns and peer mentors that were just there essentially to be resources. You could ask them questions about classes, you could ask them questions about like majors and what it's like to be like a part of WISP, and it's a little bit more personal. You also got to meet other WISP like other WISP interns essentially, so like a bunch of, in your guys' cases, like 24s. I got to meet a bunch of other 23s that were also taking the same classes as me, and we got to talk and bond over like struggling in a class or like enjoying certain classes. And so like it's an opportunity to also meet some of your classmates as well, and rather seeing them as competition, you guys become friends and help each other essentially in this academic process of like delving into science.
Yeah, and just to add on to that, I think that the peer mentor program can be the most helpful when you ask those questions. Like, don't be afraid to ask anything to your peer mentor, and even if they don't know that answer, they probably have a friend or know someone who does. And I know when I was a mentee and a first year student, I was kind of nervous about what questions I should ask and what I shouldn't ask. And now I'm like, give me all the questions, anything you want. And I think most people or everyone would feel that way. So just use the peer mentor program as a real resource, because you can get a lot out of it if you kind of put what you put into it.
I just want to add on to that. I definitely agree with Ashley too, because like peer mentors, they sign up and they know like that they're here to help you. So you have any questions, you just have to ask them. And it's also important to understand too that you're not the only one struggling. So that's what's great about the peer mentor program, because you can tell them like you're struggling, and then your mentor will be like, oh, I was struggling too, I'm still struggling now. So you can like bond over the struggles. And it's just great to like bond over that too. So just don't be afraid to like ask any questions or just rant to your mentor or other mentees or other 24s. Yeah.
Excellent.
Yeah, it's
Thank
kind
you.
of been, oh,
No,
it's
please.
keep interrupting people. It was kind of been touched on, but like we all come from different backgrounds in our high school, and you know, you hear a lot about college being super competitive, but something that's really special about Dartmouth, and especially through programs like WISP, is that every class, every major is super collaborative. So it's not as cutthroat. It's not, you know, oh, I don't want to help you, maybe like that'll hurt my chances. It's always like we all learn the best by helping each other learn. And like I wish I had like I unfortunately didn't sign up for the peer mentor program when I was a freshman, but like I wish I had that opportunity to meet other strong women going through the same program, and like that's why I signed up to be a peer mentor following. Like it's so important to learn early that your peers will be the best resources while you're at Dartmouth, and to take advantage of them.
We had a question, is there a list handbook of all the available research opportunities available? And coupled with that, what are some opportunities for research pairing with mentors this term with COVID? Again, through WISP, there's no pairing with faculty. There is pairing with peer mentors. So, and that's through the peer mentor match piece that we talked about before. So do sign up for that. As far as a list handbook of all available research opportunities available, again, that will be available if we go with in person in the spring. That'll be available at the end of winter for matching. And just to go over the time frame again, so fall is really about you almost passively is not the right word, but you know, it's almost like a tasting of all these different opportunities at Dartmouth. So there will be different activities almost every week throughout the fall where you can engage with other WISP people and also with alumni, faculty, other students, graduate students. So it's more of the passive version of WISP, which is what it usually is in the fall anyhow. And then going into the winter, you can choose as much or as little of the pretty scripted training programs that are available in the winter, and based on your involvement in that, you can get paid a stipend for it. You can then stop. You don't have to go into research. Those will really develop a skill set that will make you a stronger applicant if and when you decide to match with faculty in the spring. So it's not as if you have to have done X to have an opportunity in spring. It's just going to make you a much stronger applicant as you go through. So that would be the reason for doing that. And then again, in the spring, if it's available, there'll be faculty-led research, both virtual and remote, so we can accommodate our students who won't be on campus at all this year. Just look at another question, is there an application for WISP? So WISP itself is the umbrella of what we're doing here. So if you're on the listserv, that you're in. That's all there is to it, basically. And so you can come to as much or as little of that as you want. The things that would need to have an application wouldn't really happen, besides the mentor, peer mentor matching, wouldn't really happen until the end of winter for matching for spring. Even the skills workshops and training programs in the winter will be ad hoc. You can do one, you can do none, you can do them all, whatever you want. There's no specific sign up for that. You'll sign up for the ones that you're interested in. As long as you're on the mailing list, you'll know it's available. So that'll be easily taken care of. Just looking through, it looks like there are quite a few of the questions that I think we've answered just about everything in here. What are some questions we haven't answered fabulous students. Anything that you can think of might be worrying folks out there?
So the research matching, if it does happen, it happens in the spring in that case rather than the normal winter spring.
Correct. And
Okay,
it may be, thank you, it may be spring, summer, or spring, fall, depending. That remains to be seen. That's exactly right. Thank you, Hannah. It's a great question. Okay, I don't have any other questions here. I'm just gonna move us to if you have other questions, obviously email us. We're wisp@dartmouth.edu, pretty straightforward. You can go to our website to check out the different options, including there's a link there to sign up for the Peer Mentor program. This Friday is the deadline if you want to be matched. Please do fill that out. Quite a few of your classmates have signed up to do that already. Yeah, and all of us are here almost all the time now that it's virtual, so reach out with any questions. Anything else, amazing women? No? Great, thank you, and many, many thanks to my panelist experts here, and I look forward to chatting with you all soon.
Dawn, one last question popped up. How can they be added to the listserv?
Oh, sure. I think I had put that in. Let me just get back here one moment. Just a minute. Where did I put it? It was in the, here we go.
Oh, and panelists, if you want to drop your email in the chat for people to like reach out to you.
It's a great idea. There's the contacts. It's the same as any listserv at Dartmouth, and specifically you're just looking to be added to WISP.
I also think that this year I would plug the Peer Mentor program as a great way to get to know fellow 24s too, because in your family there'll be, you know, other 24 wispy ladies that will be, you know, in your family, and you'll have meetings with them. So it'll be a fun way to make new friends.
Thank you all. I'm going to leave this open for a little bit just so everybody can get emails. I'm not sure if everybody got that. And thanks again. Be well.